Hello, sir.
Sir, I'll just start, sir. Just give me some time.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, so we'll continue with lysosomes. Yesterday I was teaching you about lysosomes. Let us try to understand lysosomes. I think yesterday I did a fair completion of all those things, but still I'll just quickly revise it. So if you're going to take, this is a cell. From the Golgi body, directly some substance is coming. So this is what we call it as whatever is coming out of the Golgi body. It's called as the primary lysosome. Let us say that a foreign particle is there. This foreign particle is like kind of engulfed. In that case, we call that engulfed particle as a engulfed particle with a lysosome will be considered as a phagosome or secondary lysosome. Okay. The next thing is, after some time you will see that this particular lysosome would have digested that particular material into smaller structures. So along with that smaller structures, whatever is required will be taken inside, absorbed. So after the absorption, whatever is left out in the body, this is called as the third type, which is the residual body. Okay. And when the residual body is completely done, I mean like it will try to go away. So this is when you call it as a lysosome. These are the three types of lysosome: primary lysosome, phagosome or secondary lysosome. You have a residual body. But there is also one more type where the primary lysosome, which is formed, can engulf an old part of the cell. In such case, we call that as autophage. Autophagic lysosome. Okay. So when it is engulfing the old part of a cell, so there are some repair mechanisms which are to be like happening. Okay. So you need a repair mechanism for the entire organism. I mean, like suppose like there are some old part of the cell which can be there, which has to be replaced. So who is going to replace it? It is the lysosome that is going to do that work. Okay. Are you guys able to understand? So there are four types of lysosomes. The first type is primary lysosome. The second type is called as phagosome or secondary lysosome. The third type is called as residual body. And the fourth type is what we call it as autophagic lysosome. So totally four types of lysosomes are there. What is the third step? Third type, man. Okay, so listen, someone is asking, sir, I have a doubt, sir. If lysosomes do not kill the fat, then how the weight is gained or reduced? Please understand your body is made up of cells, different types of cells. Some of those cells are called as adipose tissues. Okay, what is this adipose tissues? These adipose tissues are tissues rich in fat. Okay, so they will have lots of fat in them. So usually found in the belly region. Okay, these adipose tissues are usually found in the thigh region. They are usually found in the butt region. Okay, in all those places wherever you have fat in your body, in those places you have these adipose tissues. This is a type of connective tissue. Okay, so this is what we call it as there. So you have your body. If your muscle is there, so let us say this is the muscle layer, and let us say that this is the skin layer. So in between, you will have this fatty tissue cells which are called as adipose cells. The bigger this fat cells are there, you will become fatter. Okay. So if these cells are going to undergo uh, lysis, then you will become thinner. Okay. If suppose these cells are going to grow, then what will happen? You will become fatter. So usually your body will not kill cells just like that. It has a priority order. Which one has to be removed first and which one has to be removed second, and all those priority order will be there. Those which are important like heart, liver and all will not die just like that. So, but whereas fatty tissues are like formed whenever they are like having excess energy, whenever there is less energy, these things will be utilized first. Okay, so this is the thing with respect to that and all. We'll study about heart and all in blood thing. Okay, so we'll try to study about them in blood circulation, not now. So this entire lysosome is now over. Now we'll move on to the next area. Did we write functions of lysosomes? So you can write functions of lysosome. I'm not talking for a while. You just please write it. So you see that frog and all, no, when they are having that early stage, they will have a tail. But as it is growing, what will happen is you'll see that the tail will be like withering. So in that case, the cells should die. So those conditions also lysosomes will play a major role. I assume this is a NEET class. Okay, so here I am trying to do only the NEET portion. So yesterday's deletion of CBSE portion is not going to affect this class by any chance because the NEET portions are not deleted. Okay, if you are preparing for NEET, you don't have to worry about the deleted portion. You have to study it fully. Okay. So whatever is done is only by CBSE. So which means your CBSE portions might come down, but NEET portion will not come down. So whatever is there in the textbook, you have to read it fully. So if you children are like kind of looking for NEET, you have to read it all. NEET is based on NTA's syllabus. Okay, NTA syllabus has not changed much. That is only for your CBSE exams, in-house, in-school exam. Okay, so these are all the functions of lysosomes. Ma, let us not bother about any of these things. Okay, you don't worry about the CBSE thing or like NCRT thing. We just let us just study whatever is being taught in the class. Okay, whatever is required for NEET, we are teaching. So you just follow that. No, we don't have metamorphosis in human beings. Only organisms which have an indirect mode of development will show metamorphosis. Okay, so for us, once growth has happened, it cannot be reverted. The indirect refers to larval stage. Yes, right. So there are certain organisms which will have larva stage, and then the main adult organism will come. Say for example, cockroach and all. They will have like lots of intermediate stages. Butterfly comes via intermediate stages. Those things and all are called as organisms which have larval stage. So there you see the changes. Those changes are what we call it as metamorphosis. So whenever in metamorphosis during some time, like sometimes some organelles are to change. So some have to be removed and some have to be added. So at such times, lysosomes play a major role in it. Okay. Yes, silkworm will also have. Okay. Yes, metamorphosis will occur in butterfly. So if you're done, we can move on further. The next one is vacuole. It is the storage organelle. There are many and scattered in animal cells. There is a single large vacuole in the plant cells. The fluid in the vacuole is called cell sap. The cell sap contains sugars, organic acids, oxygen, carbon dioxide, pigments, wastes, and metabolic substances. Okay, so you have something called as a vacuole, which is called as a storage organelle, which is a storage organelle. So it will store lots of substances. What kind of substances will it store? It will store sugars. It will store organic acids. It can store gases. It can store pigments. It can store waste. It can store metabolic substances. Like this, it can store lots of substances. Okay. So if you're seeing a plant cell will have a single large vacuole. Whereas in case of animal cells, you see that the vacuoles are many and they are smaller and they are scattered. Okay, animal cells will have like lots of vacuoles which are scattered. Plant cells will have one single large vacuole will be there usually. Maybe some two it might have, but usually it is like kind of like only one large vacuole you can see. And the fluid inside this particular thing is called as the cell sap. Yes, it will be comparatively bigger than the nucleus. Okay. If you're done, let me know so that I can start. Okay, so now we are going to study about the structure of vacuole. Okay. So in plant cells, and you have different types of vacuoles in animal cells. Okay. So if we are going to talk about this plant cell, the plant cell will have a structure which is covering it. We call it as tonoplast. Okay, so what are these tonoplasts? They are fluid filled sac. Make this entire layer, makes a membrane. And the membrane is called as what? Tonoplast. A tonoplast is a membrane that is made up of fluid filled sacs. Okay, so we call such a thing. Okay, vacuoles of plants. I'm sorry. You please ignore the slide, man. So in plant cells, you have a like which is covered by a membrane which is called as tonoplast. Tonoplast is the membrane which is covering the vacuole. Okay. Whereas in case of animal cell, the membrane here is made up of lipoproteinaceous membrane. Okay. So the tonoplast is the covering of plant cells, whereas in case of animal cell, the covering is called as a lipoproteinaceous membrane. This is made up of lipids and proteins. Okay, whereas here it is like kind of a single membrane which is called as tonoplast is there. This membrane is semi-permeable. Okay. So the next thing that you have to know is you have to know about the types of the vacuoles. Okay, so just a second, hold on. The tonoplast is made up of similar to plasma membrane. It is made up of phospholipid. Bilayer. Okay, so children, so this is the thing. So there are 4 types of vacuoles. What are the 4 types of vacuoles? The first one is what we call it as a sap vacuole. And then the second one is what we call it as a contractile vacuole. The third type is what we call it as the food vacuole. And the fourth one is what we call it as the air or gas vacuole. You have 4 types of vacuoles which are there. The sap will be made up of, this is mainly for storing liquids, organic acids, okay, salts. For all these things, we have something called as a sap vacuole. On the contrary, in a food vacuole, it will be for storing food that is undigested. Okay, it might be of 3 types. It can be either a storage of protein, or it can be a fat, or it can be a carbohydrate. Okay, so whereas in case of a contractile vacuole, this is a part which will take part. They will be storing waste and they will take part in osmoregulation. And then finally you have a gas vacuole. What it will be seen? It will be seen only in prokaryotes. It will store gases. Okay, it helps to give buoyancy. So this is the role of the gas vacuole. Okay, so now let me try to explain you what is this contractile vacuole because like you need to understand how this contractile vacuole is working out. Okay, so it is not just only for storing waste, but it is also playing a major role in osmoregulation. So what is this osmoregulation? We need to understand. Okay, so say for example, you have a this one. Let us say that you have an amoeba. This amoeba is going to live in what? Fresh water. This amoeba will have something called as a contractile vacuole. Why this contractile vacuole is important? Because when it is living in fresh water, obviously the outside water is more hypotonic. Okay, when it is like kind of hypotonic, water tends to come inside. More and more water will come inside. So the more and more water comes inside, what will happen? CHO is carbohydrate. When more and more water comes inside, what will happen? The cell will bloat and the cell can burst. Yeah, right. So in order to avoid the thing, what this particular contractile vacuole will do is, this contractile vacuole will try to form a water body and it will try to send the water outside. So what it will try to do is, whenever more and more water is there coming inside, the water enters into the contractile vacuole and this water is stored inside the contractile vacuole. When it is full, what will happen? This contractile vacuole will come here and then it will try to release the water outside, back. So this is like kind of a structure which is helping to ensure that osmosis happens regularly. So whenever the water is like kind of coming inside, this contractile vacuole will try to take that water, excess water in the cell, and it will try to push it outside the body. So this is what is the role of contractile vacuole. And along with the contractile vacuole, what will happen? Sometimes wastes are stored, so that when the cell is like sending the water outside, along with the water, the waste is also digested outside. Okay, so are you guys able to understand? So children, so this is the thing. So whenever water is coming inside, too much of water is getting inside, the water will increases the turgidity and it will cause cell bursting. In order to prevent that particular cell bursting, the contractile vacuole will try to take in the water. When it is trying to take in the water, ultimately what will happen? This water will be taken inside by the contractile vacuole, and whenever the excess of water is there, it will try to pump it out to the environment. So usually this happens with organisms which live in fresh water. The unicellular organisms which are living in fresh water will be having this contractile vacuole. Along with this thing, this process is called as osmoregulation. Along with this particular thing, we also have a additional process, which is called as storing of waste. So whatever waste has to be removed will be removed through this contractile vacuole. Any vacuole which is like storing food that is undigested is called as a food vacuole. Please understand that the vacuoles are just like that, created as an extension of Golgi body. How is the vacuole is forming? The vacuole is forming as an extension of a Golgi body. Okay. Contractile vacuole is present in most of the freshwater organisms where osmoregulation has to happen. contractile vacuole is absent in marine organisms. Okay, so now coming back to the last thing, what is the functions? Stores products. Osmoregulation. Stores waste. These are the functions. With this thing, vacuoles is over. All plants will have large vacuoles. It's not just in desert plants. Any plant cell, if you're going to take, it will have like a bigger size vacuole. Okay, moving on further. Contractile vacuole is found only in organisms which has to remove waste. Mostly it is found only in unicellular organisms. The next one is mitochondria. Okay, so quickly read these points and tell me if I have to teach these things. Just the pronunciation: Kolikar, Altman, Benda. Okay, I hope this will This is all self-explanatory. This is all just factual things which you should know about mitochondria. So the next thing that you should know is you should know about occurrence. They occur in all cells except RBCs. RBCs will not have what? Mitochondria. Okay. RBCs will not have mitochondria. And prokaryotes. So you cannot see mitochondria in prokaryotes. The number vary from cell to cell. So yeast will have less than 10. Liver cells in the range of 1000 to 1600 mitochondria. Muscle fibers, many thousands. Okay. Kidney cells, 300 to 400. Oocyte, approximately 30,000. Like this, you have different kinds of cells will have different kind of numbers. Yeah, this is number of mitochondria per cell. Oocyte means egg cell. Okay, so these are all some of the examples that you want to know. If you want other cells, you can just refer the internet. So basically what you need to understand is you need to understand that these cells, whichever will require more energy will have more mitochondria. The cells which will require less energy will require less mitochondria. So if you want to understand, so these are just some random examples that I have picked up. If you want to know more examples, you are free to refer it. This symbol here indicates approximately. If someone is asking for previous slide, yeah, go for it. Hey, what is this thing now? This is singular. Mitochondria, mitochondrion. This is the plural, singular. Yeah, I'll show you all the slides. We'll complete the class this way itself. Okay, so now coming back. Yeah, you people are asking me too many slides in between. So I mean, like, if I waste time in all those things, the class time will be gone. Show this slide, show that slide, and then like at the end also you want me to show. So structure, it is sausage shape. Or spiral or rod shaped. It has double membrane. So it has a double membrane. You will see here, if you're seeing here, this is a membrane. Okay, so this is like kind of a mitochondrial membrane. So I'll just draw the 2D diagram. So in this 2D diagram, you're able to see one membrane, and then like it will be like kind of, you'll be seeing like the second membrane. Okay, so now you have something called as the outer membrane. You have the inner membrane, and you have the matrix in between. So this layer in between, we call it as the intermembrane space. Okay. So are you guys able to understand? You have the inner membrane, you have the outer membrane, and then you have the intermembrane space, and then you have the central area, it's called as matrix. Okay, so I'll just show you the diagram of mitochondria. You just see here. So this is the meaning of sausage shape. Okay, this will look like a sausage. So this if it is completely closed, no, you will look like a sausage. Sausage is like kind of something that you eat. I'm not sure like how many vegetarians are there in the class, but sausage is like this. So this is sausage. This is a meat thing, usually filled with pork or beef. Okay, sometimes it is done with chicken. So this is what we call it as sausage. So this is like kind of like sausage is basically you have the intestine in which you will chop the meat and then like you will try to put it. So this is sausage. Uh, So you have mitochondria. Mitochondria will almost resemble the same way. It will resemble a sausage. So here you are able to see two membranes, inner membrane and outer membrane. Yeah, and then like you have this matrix is there in the center. And these finger-like foldings that you're seeing here is called as crista. Crista is the finger-like foldings. You call the plural is called as cristae. Okay, so this is cristae. So these are the structures of mitochondria. Tomorrow we'll continue with mitochondria. And then we can complete mitochondria. Okay, so we'll continue it. So now we'll try to see all the slides once and we'll wrap up the session. First slide. Second slide. Third slide. Fourth slide. Fifth slide. Sixth slide. Seventh slide. Eighth slide. Ninth slide. And 10th slide. Thank you very much, children. Thank you.